Hello everybody, welcome to episode 6 of the Check-In. Tonight, we just saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, and how did you feel about it?
It was bad.
I think it was even worse than that, but to elaborate, why don't you just say your opinions? How about positives first, because I'm an optimist and I'll put that on you. You? Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it?
That's it.
Oh, okay, well, negatives then.
Let's go into criticism, because I don't believe this movie, while this movie isn't the worst thing in the world, from the start it didn't offer anything. And I think a big problem with that is that, and this is me, and I feel like a lot of people are like this anyway, I've never seen Ant-Man as a very interesting character. And I'm going to give a little bit of bias that not everybody agrees with, and I'm not trying to do a big comparison, but Ant-Man and the Wasp Ant-Man came out in 2015, and then Deadpool came out in 2016. And it seemed to me, as far as the kind of lowly criminal who has a little bit of a smart mouth going, I feel like Deadpool does it better. And it's not to say that there's no room for Ant-Man, because after all, he's very tiny, he can fit anywhere. But this movie really illustrated everything that's wrong with Ant-Man. And first and foremost, that Scott was used as comic relief. The only thing that belonged to Scott in this was the complication of potentially being caught, not on house arrest. But he was never caught, or there was never any fear that he was going to get back just in time for the police to not see him. So that conflict doesn't go anywhere. The entire bits of story, and trust me, there are a million subplots. We won't get into twists. Maybe we can. We'll warn you when we do. But Hank and Hope want to get Hank's wife out of the quantum realm, or the quantum zone, wherever it's called. And they're on the run because Scott used their suit in Germany, so that automatically makes them criminals, not really knowing where that's going. So then they have to turn to Michael Peña's character and all of them and get them involved in trying to get the mother out. And they try to you could tell this was written by 5 people, because the ghost, without spoiling much, she's just misunderstood. Like, it's exactly like with Deadpool 2, though Deadpool 2 is better, where from the start the antagonist is just trying to save themselves, and if they just talked and communicated with the heroes, then all would go right. And in the end, what they should have done from the start is what happens in the end. And it's just complete unnecessary conflict with no real villain, because you know that she's a sympathetic character. While she is the antagonist, she's not a villain. And then the complications of how they're going to get what they want, every single step toward finding the mother opens up a slew of problems that end up in long comic relief scenes, ridiculously long set pieces, and very generic backstories that are either done in flashback very poorly or are explained in the dialogue by the other characters poorly. All of the characters are terrible in this, and the only reason they get to even shine as far as having attitude in their dialogue, having characteristic, is through the comedy. But again, the comedy is so abundant, and Marvel loves doing this, where there's consistently scenes where there's big reveal scenes a big reveal scene where they're tied up, and Scott's daughter's calling him, and then you have a scene where they're going to be obtaining some important documents. There's more humor. There's multiple interrogation scenes that is just completely undercut with humor, so I never feel very nervous, and there's never any tension until the post-credit scenes, which we'll get into that later. There's never any tension, because I'm like, well, they're going to kind of bust out in some humorous way, and I never get to feel any sort of emotion or stakes. Whereas with the first movie, I at least remember feeling there's a bit, which I know this isn't that big of a spoiler, but there's a bit where the ghost is confronted with a concept of, what if I get to Scott by kidnapping his daughter? And she is advised against it by someone, and then just says, fine, all right, and doesn't do it. And there's missed opportunities like that to complicate things in a way that is organic to the story, and nothing ever winds up happening, because everything they do is just to move forward. But oddly enough, they feel that they're like, well, here's how they literally had 2 different maps. Here's how we move forward with the plot, and here's how we incorporate stuff from the first movie, i.e. the comedy. So when they mesh them together, it's a tug of war. Actually, you know the best way I can describe this movie? It is one bad dad joke after the other. The first dad joke, you're like, oh, I can't believe he said that. Everyone kind of laughs. But then the fact that imagine that, but for an hour and 50, and it felt longer. Imagine a slew of dad jokes. Imagine your dad is trying to tell a story that's actually a really emotional story, but every 2 seconds, he has, like, ADHD and is like, ooh, let me tell you, that's the funny dad joke I forgot. And it's just, he's trying to tell a story, but littered with bad dad jokes. And by the time you're done, they are what they are. Dad jokes. And it is so, following Black Panther and Infinity War. And I know that it was supposed to be released later than this, and they were probably rushed. And how can we compete with Black Panther and Avengers? It's the same studio. And Avengers is about to go out of theaters. So what? Like, don't concern yourself with that, because the credit where credit is due for both The Incredibles 2 and Deadpool 2, they did not try. It wasn't evident that they were really obsessed with, we have competition with very strong movies. And Ant-Man and the Wasp knew it would have competition. And that may have been a downside. But again, this is obviously just speculation, but it was just one big mess that was pretty much what it comes down to. Was there was no tone, there was humor that undercut everything. The only serious bit was the ending, which I get if you've seen Infinity War, you can kind of guess what happens. I said there was no tone, no pace, no character. Not that there weren't characters, but they didn't have character. And there was as many different subplots that they tried to make into one thing that wasn't actually, it wasn't like there were subplots, but there should have been subplots, because there was only one plot that was littered with all these complications that didn't actually make any sense. And that was where the film failed. At least for me. And that's really all I have to say, because I could go through the movie, but everything I just said could be up any single scene that you take, use one of the things that I just said, and that's why it's a bad scene.
Well, we got the best of Marvel this year, and in my opinion, we got the worst of the worst. I think that this movie has no style, no surprise, and it doesn't really leave anything left to be desired. I thought Ragnarok made Thor cool, Guardians 2 tried to be cool, but it wasn't. This movie was not only not cool, but not funny. I didn't enjoy any part, in any moment, in any scene. I thought the first film was okay, and it was fine enough. I thought Edgar Wright's writing was actually unique for what the film was trying to be, but I thought Ant-Man was the coolest in Civil War when he was just a supporting character and helping out when he can. But this movie, honestly, the story is completely wasted by not only the comedy, but the actual plot itself. I think Wasp should have been cooler as she was marketed. Like, at the end of the first one, they do a recap in this movie. It's like, previously on Ant-Man, but they really don't. It's like, remember that, remember this? The moment Michelle Pfeiffer was playing with Baby Hope, we looked at each other, we were like, no, this isn't really what we want. And we didn't even expect, we expected mediocrity, and it was below that. Okay, so where do I begin? I think that, having Paul Rudd, take care of, his daughter for 20 minutes playing around the house, it's so boring. And then, once the plot kicks in, it's like, we need to find the mom. But the mom isn't actually well developed. There's no growth, there's no character. Michelle Pfeiffer is just, walking around in a green screen with Michael Douglas the whole time. At the end, mind you. And they play this big orchestra music when they hug, and it's like, I don't feel the embrace, I don't feel the connection. Ant-Man doesn't have any cool powers besides what you saw in the trailers. The action, what action? All you see is, mindless, Walter Goggins. Hope is just trying to get this thing, but then he's like, oh, you want to come and join this business partner? And she's like, no. It's like, okay, then you can't have it. And then Ghost randomly appears. What a great introduction. I thought Cable's introduction was bad. I have no idea what was happening. In my favorite show, Smallville, there's an episode where a man has the jitters and he can't stop moving, and you feel sympathetic for him because you don't know how he's going to react to anything, because he's a good guy during bad things. In this movie, I thought that she was, one of the better parts. I didn't mind Ghost, the actress, really, but she didn't really have any oomph to her, make her either unique or like she was just moving around and it was trying to be something when it actually wasn't. It's like, yeah, you said, like you said before, I'm gonna kill a daughter because I can. Oh, no? Okay, then never mind. Oh, how about I do this evil thing? No? Like, she like, no, like, everything stopped her in any sense. You're like, hey, I'm gonna, have Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer take care of me at the end.
She was unreasonable without proper motivation.
Exactly. I remember the first film having the comedy being better than it actually was. Maybe I'm gonna compliment it more. But here, there's a scene where Michael Pena is talking to the bad guy with the truth serum they keep on referring to over and over and over again. And he has this, like, weird montage flashback thing where it's, like, how he met Scott. In the first film, I remember the cutting back and forth between what he's, having the character say. I remember that making me laugh, or at least, chuckling. Here, there's no unique style to it, and they keep on doing it. And then, him and his crew are not funny. I also don't really like the fact that Hope and Michael Douglas, they're just doing what they want, and they're just going, going up and down with the cars and everything. Actually, yeah, like you said, Ant-Man, he just goes along with the plot. He doesn't change anything. Stuff happens to him, and he's like, oh, I'm just a bumbling idiot in this movie. His ex-wife and her new husband, forget about it. He was once a cop. Do we get any of that? No. Referring back to the first film when he names all the ants like Anthony, or it's like, Antonio Banderas. So it was like, yeah, I guess you're trying to connect it, but then again, you're just running around San Francisco trying to have an action scene when it's not real. It's not a real, set piece. The subplots don't make any sense. I don't like any of it, actually. Even at the end, the first post-credits scene, the second one, we already saw on the phone, like, I would just say it, with the stupid ant playing guitar. If they dusted away, and then Ant-Man and the Wasp will return, ? If we got the title, I think that would have been cooler. But the first one, they just randomly send Scott into the quantum realm, which is never explained at all. It's like, oh, it's this mysterious thing that you go in and you get out. Okay, cool, bye.
Spoilers.
They sent him in, and then, like I predicted, every one of them died, because how tragic would it be if the people who knew how to work it couldn't bring him back, because that's how he's going to get stuck, and he's going to have to time travel or whatever. But I didn't care. I was like, oh, saw that coming, because guess what? Infinity War was much better.
Gotta tell you, it's the only time I felt tension. My stomach kind of flipped.
Out of scenes, I would say the only good scene, the writing sucks, but the only good scene with dialogue, I would say, it's a very small scene. I don't know if you actually saw it as good as I did, but there's a small, like, less than 1 minute scene where Hope is like, what if my mom doesn't recognize me? What if I'm not the person that she expected? Scott says something actually cool. He says, well, when I was in jail, all I thought about was my daughter. If I was there,
that was fine.
If I was stuck there for 100 years, I'll just be thinking about her. And she's like, "Thank you," and he's like, "You're welcome." I was like, "Okay, finally." Like, Act 2B, we actually
like 30 seconds.
We got one good scene, and then we didn't get any more. I really hated it.
Also, one good point you brought up. There are so many supporting characters. Wanda, Falcon. That would Rhodey, that would deserve their own movies over Ant-Man, as far as how well he works. But see how well he worked in Civil War as a supporting character. Scott Lang is a supporting character, and I hate to say it. And again, a few more points. Judy Greer and Bobby Cannavale wasted. Comic relief, like, they have no place in the story. And also, I don't know if you felt this either, but because of the fact that the movie was kind of going on, I couldn't even tell when Act 2 was over and when Act 3 ended. There weren't enough significant things happening.
When he said 2A, that was like almost Act 3. I was like, wait, what's the pacing?
No, yeah, exactly. I could not. That's the problem. The pacing was terrible. But again, I think, like, a key thing is that for us, we're not even huge fans of Ant-Man. But regardless of that, we can admit when a movie is good, even if it's not something like Winter Soldier or Civil War. But at the same time, this was not. It was not good. And we've seen every MCU Marvel film, and then some, actually. Even with Fox Marvel, this is still very much lower on the bottom of the barrel. And I think collectively we could say, even though Guardians 2 personally pains me, this is the worst MCU film.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's the worst. I think it's a...
Like I said, at least Ragnarok made Thor cool with how dumb it was, in our opinion. And Guardians 2, we hated it, but it was trying to be cooler than it was. And I didn't mind the beginning with Groot dancing.
And at the very least, James Gunn wrote it, so, even if it went wrong, it's James Gunn's mistake. But I think we both kind of agree. I didn't really get your grade, but I think we collectively think it's a trash crumble.
C-.
Yeah, C- as well. It's
yes,
really not
I was
good.
thinking about it. I was like, is it better than Fallen Kingdom? Is it better than Solo? Yes, of course it is. I will agree with you on that. I would rather watch, this than any of those crappy movies, but they're really close. They're neck to neck, and this year hasn't really been that good, at least, with the exceptions of, Black Panther, Infinity War, Incredibles 2. We're getting great movies, but then we're getting terrible movies. There's no middle of the line, I would say.
And hopefully the rest of July will give us middle-of-the-line blockbuster films. Or still good ones. I don't want middle-of-the-line ones. But at the very least, I don't want really, really bad ones. But I think, we're a little biased as far as not caring much for Ant-Man. But this was not a fun movie to sit through.
What do you think the worst scene was?
I just want to say that first scene. Because it was a backstory done in flashback and narration.
Amazing Spider-Man did that too.
It was terrible generic dialogue between mother and father are leaving their young daughter and their young daughter doesn't understand why. It's so generic and so, you take the names Hank Pym, Hope Pym, you just replace it and just put it in any movie. It's a generic family scene. It's not good, and
it should have been
a
race against time, trying to find the mother, or which part of the quantum realm was she in. Something's wrong, we have to go in, because I don't remember her contacting with Scott in the first movie. They just kind of threw that in. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Hope should have been on her missions. Every scene should have been how cool she is, acknowledging her acting combat from the first movie, going around finding bad guys who because I would say the quantum realm is broken. Hoggins or whatever, Walton Goggins can be in it, but he has a piece of the thing. Coincidentally, she needs to get it. And then you could have Ghost as the main bad guy, but you need to implement it more. Lawrence Fishburne is like, hey, I hate Hank Pym. We're gonna have this back and forth.
You need becauses, and there was no clear cause and effect except for literally every single bit of explanation why this character did this, why this thing happened, why this set piece. It was all explained in narration, exposition, or flashback.
You know how tragic
None
it would
of
be?
It actually took place.
If they had to make one choice, save the mother or save Ghost. And then
yeah, exactly.
And then what if
what kind of person does that make you?
What if Hope was like, no, she's a bad guy, she does bad things, why do we save her? We need the mother. I love the mother. And what if Ant-Man was like, yes, you love the mother, but
the mother chose what she did, and this girl didn't. And again,
and there's nothing. But
again, the reason why this girl is so unreasonable and so quote unquote evil is because she's been tampered with, experimented on, stuff that we see in flashback and in exposition that isn't good. But I mean, we can go on with specifics. But I definitely don't think it's very good. I would not recommend it. I mean, obviously, I'd recommend it as far as seeing it for the films. But honestly, as long as you know the post-credit scene, you're good. You're good to go with the next movie.
But even that, they just threw it in.
I hate to recommend it.
It wasn't a part of the film. At the end, they were like, wait, we need to, what? They didn't even do that with, I keep on forgetting her name, with,
the
Ghost?
mother?
No, Ghost.
Oh, Ghost.
Well, there's something in the quantum realm we can help you, and we can go in and save you and get it.
Yeah, it's to help Ghost
but
as well.
We didn't get that. What if,
and now it's the consequences
I know people,
at the end of the film.
People know to wait in line, people know to wait after the credits, but not everyone does. So what if they leave the movie okay, wow, what a wasted movie. That's an after credit scene. The movie's supposed to be about, saving the Ghost and the mother. Yeah. Again, I would say pick a choice. But then again, the post-credit scene, we have this thing in the quantum realm to save Ghost. Let's do it. And then you look what happens.
And you have that Hank Pym of the whole, oh, he's a terrible person, like you have a Howard or Tony Stark kind of thing. It's a genius who doesn't know who his work affected. But I do think I sadly need to recommend it as far as continuity, but I really hate when Marvel films are this bad, because when they're okay, that's fine. But because Marvel is so Marvel, it's a requirement to see all these films to understand. That's what annoys me, because they can get away with making bad films and people will go see it anyway. So I would recommend it. I would proceed with caution. Either see it when it comes out. Redbox, it's a trash movie, but see Redbox or Netflix.
I mean, like when
try
I
to see
did
it,
the
figure
marathon
out from the plot on Wikipedia.
When I did
would
the
not
marathon
recommend
when
wasting your
Infinity
money.
War came out, I had Ant-Man on in the background. I didn't pay attention to it. I looked up whenever cool things happened, but this movie, nothing cool happened.
Yeah. So
Also, Agent Wu was coming in and out, like, and breaking through the house, like, "Where are you, Scott?" And he's like, "I'm always here."
yeah, the FBI again played for laughs. I don't want to go. We shouldn't go on for too long.
Stupid.
We've kind of droned on past our regular opinions, and we've been trying to close
Hated it.
But bad movie, didn't like it. Go see it if you are an Ant-Man fan. I guess.
Crumble.
Trash crumble. I would not go full price on
I'm
this.
not seeing this again.
Yeah, it's not a multi-watch movie. It's a watch once so you know what's going on, and that's a bit about that.
I wanted a Captain Marvel teaser.
But we didn't get one. So, as usual, before you go see a movie, check in with us first. Thanks for watching. Bye.